Welcome to Whisper and Learn channel. In today's video, we'll dive into another engaging story to help you improve your English listening skills while enjoying a relaxing and stress-free experience. Each story is crafted to teach practical vocabulary, enhance your comprehension, and provide meaningful life lessons. So grab your headphones, relax, and let's begin.
The biting chill of late December gripped the streets of New York City, each breath condensing into wisps of fleeting mist. Twinkling fairy lights adorned every window, and the hum of carolers echoed down cobblestone alleys. Emma Davis tucked her scarf tighter around her neck as she exited the subway station, her mind swirling with worries rather than the festive cheer that enveloped the city. For Emma, the new year did not bring excitement. Her bookstore, Chapter's End, was on the verge of closing. Nestled between a trendy cafe and a tech store, her shop had become a relic of simpler times, overshadowed by e-books and online giants. The end of the lease loomed just days away, and despite her relentless efforts, she hadn't managed to gather enough funds to renew it. Tonight, Emma was headed to a New Year's Eve party, hosted by her best friend, Lily. While the idea of socializing felt burdensome amidst her personal turmoil, Lily had insisted. "You need a break, Em," she'd said, practically dragging her out of the shop earlier that day. The party was lively, filled with laughter and music, but Emma found herself lingering by the snack table, her thoughts elsewhere. She stared at the bubbles rising in her champagne flute, willing herself to find joy in the celebration. "Why so glum?" a voice broke through her reverie. She turned to see an older man with kind eyes and a weathered face standing beside her. He looked vaguely familiar, though Emma couldn't place him. "Oh, just the usual year-end existential crisis," she replied with a forced laugh. "How about you?" The new year always stirs up memories," he said, his tone wistful. "But it's also a chance for renewal, wouldn't you agree?" Emma gave a non-committal shrug. "Maybe for some." The man studied her for a moment before speaking again. "I've seen you before, haven't I? You run the bookstore on Main Street." Emma's eyes widened. "Yes, that's me. How do you?" "I'm Henry Parker. I've stopped by a few times. Always liked the place. Has a certain charm," he said. "I'm sorry to hear it's closing." Emma's heart sank. Even strangers knew about her impending failure. "Yeah, well, it's hard to compete with convenience and algorithms." Henry's gaze softened. "Do you mind if I share a story?" Caught off guard but curious, Emma nodded. "Years ago," Henry began, settling into a comfortable stance as if he'd told this story countless times. "I owned a small music shop, vinyl records, cassettes, even sheet music. It was my passion, much like your books, I imagine." My mornings were filled with the warm crackle of records spinning on a turntable and the scent of polished wood shelving. Customers would come in, some looking for specific records, others to simply chat about their favorite bands. It wasn't just a store, it was a sanctuary. Emma could almost see it, the quaint shop with sunlight filtering through large front windows, stacks of records, and the quiet hum of music in the background. But times changed, Henry continued. It started slowly. CDs became popular, then MP3 players, and finally streaming services. The customers I knew so well, Margaret, who always asked for classical music, David, who introduced me to new rock bands, they stopped coming. It wasn't their fault, of course. Convenience is a hard thing to argue against. Emma nodded, feeling the weight of his words. She knew all too well the impact of shifting trends. For years, I fought to keep the shop open, Henry said. I ran sales, added new products, even hosted live performances. But it wasn't enough. I remember the day I had to lock the doors for the final time. It felt like losing a part of myself. That must have been hard, Emma said softly. Henry's expression grew thoughtful. It was, but it also taught me something important. The music shop may have closed, but my love for music didn't end there. In fact, it grew. I started teaching guitar to kids in my neighborhood. I began hosting community jams at the park. I even found time to compose pieces I'd always dreamed of writing. Sharing music in these new ways felt just as fulfilling, if not more so, than running the shop. Emma's brow furrowed. So you're saying I should just give up? Henry chuckled, a warm sound that put her slightly at ease. Not give up. Reimagine. Maybe there's a way to keep your love for books alive, even if it looks different from what you've envisioned. When one door closes, sometimes it's because another one is waiting to open. Emma opened her mouth to reply, but the room suddenly erupted with noise. The countdown to midnight had begun. Voices rose in unison, calling out the numbers. 10, 9, 8. As the countdown reached its climax, Henry offered her a small smile. Happy New Year, Emma. I hope this year brings you clarity. Happy New Year, she managed, though her mind was elsewhere. As the room erupted in cheers, hugs, and the clinking of glasses, Emma stood still, replaying Henry's words. They felt like a lifeline. The following morning, Emma woke up with a mix of apprehension and determination. Henry's story had planted a seed, and though she wasn't entirely sure what to do with it, she knew she couldn't let chapter's end go without a fight. If Henry could adapt, so could she. Emma began by listing everything that chapter's end represented to her. Not just books, but connection, inspiration, and discovery. She stared at the blank notebook page for hours, sipping on cups of tea as ideas began to flow. Slowly but surely, a plan took shape, not to save the store as it was, but to evolve it into something that thrived in a changing world. She envisioned book clubs that traveled between cozy cafes, literary-themed walking tours through the city, and partnerships with local artists to create events that celebrated storytelling in all forms. Books are more than just pages, Emma told herself. They're bridges to experiences. Her first attempt was a pop-up book club at a nearby coffee shop. Emma prepared for disappointment, but was instead overwhelmed. The shop overflowed with people of all ages, from students to retirees, each eager to discuss their favorite reads. Strangers bonded over shared opinions on plot twists and writing styles. The energy was infectious, and for the first time in months, Emma felt a flicker of hope. Encouraged, she planned her next event, a Books in Blooms, collaboration with a local florist. Customers browsed hand-picked novels while learning to craft their own bouquets. The scent of fresh flowers mingled with the excitement of book discoveries, creating an atmosphere of pure joy. By the end of the evening, Emma's cheeks hurt from smiling. Word of her efforts began to spread. Small write-ups in local blogs and newspapers called her the bookstore revivalist, and attendance at her events grew. Schools and libraries reached out, asking her to host workshops and storytelling sessions. Emma even curated book bundles for local businesses, pairing novels with complimentary treats like artisanal chocolates or hand-poured candles. One afternoon, as she prepared for a children's storytelling workshop, a surprise visitor arrived. It was Henry, carrying a small, carefully wrapped package. "I thought you might like this," he said, handing it to her. Inside was an old vinyl record with a handwritten note. "Keep sharing your song, Emma. The melody is just beginning." Emma's eyes filled with tears. "Thank you, Henry, for everything." He smiled. "I'm just happy to see you thriving. Sometimes all it takes is a little faith in the next chapter." By the time the next New Year's Eve rolled around, Chapter's End was unrecognizable. What was once a quiet shop had transformed into a thriving community hub. Themed trivia nights brought in crowds who stayed long after the last question, debating books over cups of cocoa. Weekly author readings became cherished events, drawing writers from across the city who praised Emma for rekindling the magic of storytelling. On this New Year's Eve, the store was alive with energy. Fairy lights hung from the ceiling, and shelves were adorned with handwritten notes from customers sharing how the store had impacted them. Emma stood by the counter, watching as guests browsed, laughed, and shared their favorite stories. It was everything she had dreamed of and more. Even more surprising was the sudden appearance of a well-known publisher who had been quietly attending one of her themed nights. As the midnight fireworks began, he approached Emma with a proposal to collaborate on a citywide book festival, naming Chapter's End as the flagship sponsor. Emma, stunned and elated, could hardly find words. But she knew this was the beginning of an even bigger adventure. When the clock struck midnight, Emma raised her glass amid the cheers. "Here's to new beginnings," she whispered, her heart full. Fireworks lit up the sky, and Emma knew this was only the beginning of her story.
Thank you for listening to this story on Whisper and Learn channel. We hope you enjoyed it and learned something valuable today. If you liked this video, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more stories that make learning English fun and effective. Let us know in the comments what you think of this story or what topics you'd like to hear next. See you in the next video. Happy learning!